my name's David Barson. I'm president of the Des Moines Historical Society. Thanks for everybody coming today. I want to also thank West End Salvage for hosting us today. They did no charge to let us have our meeting here today, and excited to get a lot of people in here that have never been in here before to check out the place. One of my favorite places in Des Moines for sure. We are a non-profit organization interested in sharing and learning about the history of Des Moines through people and places. We are a 501c non-profit, so keep us in mind for future tax-deductible gifts. We will take your money and you will get a tax deduction for that. As an organization, the Des Moines Historical Society believes that history is important in maintaining and developing the character of a city. History brings the community together. Preserving our past helps guide our path in the future. History is meant to be shared. Bringing together like-minded individuals has greater impact. We must stop the loss of Des Moines history. Everyone has a story, and learning history can be fun, engaging, and worthwhile. And we try to make that part of our mantra throughout the year. We are also, I want to let everybody know, we are also amassing a collection of pieces to showcase the history of Des Moines and hope to have a future museum space. And we're busy working on that and trying to get some things lined up. We're also working on an online version of a museum also for members that belong to the Des Moines Historical Society. Please share with us any ideas that you have on things you'd like to see, people you'd like to meet, people you'd like to learn about. Our goal is to have at least one event per month throughout the year. And we try to get members into homes and businesses that the general population generally does not get into or has never seen. Thanks for your membership, and help us keep the membership strong by encouraging friends to join our active group. I want to see a show of hands first of all. How many people in the room have been here before? Okay, I see a lot that haven't been. I see a lot that have, so it's great to see. Are you? All right, so here's another question. Does anybody have any idea on how many different locations West End Salvage has been located in? And that would be full-time or temporary. You got to throw out any numbers? 3, I heard. Yeah. I believe the answer is 4. They actually had a temporary location in Albert Lee, Minnesota. They've got one in West Glen. This original incarnation was originally down on Locust Street, where Americana is now, I believe. They were there first until they moved to this location. So, all right, another show of hands. How many people in the room saw their show on HGTV? We got a few, not as many as I thought, but I believe they had 2 seasons on HGTV called West End Salvage. So, also I want to introduce the other board members that are here today. As I said, I'm David Barson. I'm the president. We've got Larry Tovero back here. Larry is our vice president. He does our annual report, which is available for anybody to grab a hold of. He does our quarterly newsletter. He does email reminders. He's the caretaker of our collection, and we just keep throwing more stuff at him, and he keeps saying no more. But he does a good job of trying to manage it all, so thank you, Larry. We've also got Shanine, where are you at? Right here. She is our new treasurer, so she's taking care of our books for us, and her husband, David, over here, they've been real active in the Sherman Hill Neighborhood Association and restorations in Sherman Hill, so thank you so much for joining our board. Mike Nieters, right back here. Mike, he is our secretary and I'll call him our media correspondent. Is that a good name for you? So he tries to get our notices in the date book and the Des Moines Register and tries to let people know about the meetings that we have and all the activities that we do. Jerry Torme, which will be here, I believe he's at another meeting until noon, so he'll be here, but he's our Facebook manager. Karen, right back here in the middle. Karen is our glue that keeps us all together. She's also our historian. She also puts together a historygram. So for anybody that's a member, if you're not getting a copy of the historygram, make sure you talk to her. She's putting together information on long lost buildings, businesses, hotels, etc., and sending those out. How often are you doing those? Every other month? Once a month? Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. All right. And we got Maria. Maria over here. Maria, I call her our architectural consultant and coordinator. So she works at, where do you work at?
I work at Brooks Borg and Styles Architectural Engineering Firm. Our predecessors were Hallett and Rawson and Proudfoot and Bird and Rawson. I'm in charge of all the architectural archives at that firm.
And a lot of that is transferring over to our organization to be a caretaker of some of the old records of that business. So, Will Anderson, which is her husband, he's doing some technology for us and handles some of our media. And then we've got Linda over here. Linda Power, she's our events coordinator, and she also takes care of membership for us. Time for a little commercial break. Back behind Karen back here, we've got a few things that are available for purchase. We have, if you want to, Karen, do you want to hold up our new calendar that she actually put together? It's a 2017 annual calendar showcasing mansions that once graced our downtown inner city. These sketches were made in 1889 when many of the mansions and row houses were located in our downtown core. These grand structures have been replaced with the downtown business district in the earliest part of the 20th century with auto manufacturing and hospital buildings. And so it makes a great gift for anybody you know that might be interested in Des Moines history, and that's one of our fundraisers for our group. Next we've got a good looking Des Moines polo shirt, the ones that we're all wearing. These are available for sale also, and so we have those in all different sizes. So if you want to show off your interest and support for the Des Moines Historical Society, those are definitely available. So, we can get it for you. We can get it for you. Now, one of the things that I've got on my list, and I'm having a little trouble with this now, is I made up these really cool mugs that showcase the downtown business district, but it also shows the Hotel Victoria, and it shows the interior of the Hotel Victoria. And I was just trying to reorder those this week, and I'm having to try to find a new source because my old source, which was Shutterfly, no longer carries this anymore. But Larry's going to show off that one. So those are available also. They got our logo on the front. And so there he goes. What is...
Speaking of old hotels, the Brown Hotel has some impressive history too, and like Victoria is also no longer in existence.
Okay.
I forget a lot of it, but there was at one time like a mini museum in there. There was a.
So the Brown Hotel?
Yeah.
Okay.
It used to be 4th and Keogh. What's now 4th and Watson Powell Junior Way.
Okay. Gotcha. So are there any photos or anything?
In the 30s, whenever Al Capone came through Des Moines, he always had the executive suite reserved.
Really? Al Capone had the executive suite at the Brown Hotel?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
his hotel of choice. He always stayed there when he came through Des Moines.
Are there some good pictures that you've seen of the Brown Hotel in the heyday? Okay.
I've seen plenty of pictures of it. It was a 14-story building.
Okay. Are you familiar with that, Karen? Okay. Two of you need to get together and see if there's anything that he may have that
There was a
you
radio
don't have.
station
So,
there at one time.
okay. Gotcha.
Yep. There was Natural Fish Aquarium in there too.
We also, for sale, we also have a few commemorative banners dedicated to the 1915 Des Moines Wooden Board Track Speedway. These were popular back in the early 1900s for a bunch of different reasons. There was some groups that were going around the country building these for cars, for motorcycles. They were all made out of 2x4s laid on end, And unfortunately, within just a few years, there were many casualties of people racing at high speeds around these tracks, usually with cars or motorcycles with no brakes. And so it was popular for a while. A lot of the lumber from that got taken apart and put into houses that were built in 1917. So we made a recreation of the banner that they had for those races. And Larry just ran across a photo showing the races with one of the banners on one of the front of the cars. That was a donation to us. That was exciting. The race, like I said, only lasted for 2 summers before it was shut down. Also wanted to let you know about, we've got a volunteer gathering on February 11th at 11 a.m. This will be at the 1896 Gabriel House, located at 1701 Pennsylvania Avenue, and right at the edge of Union Park. Come have some goodies, find out about our group, and learn more about opportunities to get involved and help us keep this organization strong. As some of you know, we have a Centennial Certificate program, and which we champion businesses and buildings which have hit the 100-year survival mark. And so at this time, I wanted to recognize a family and a company who has made Des Moines a bit more special and thrived through recessions, 2 world wars, and the uncertainty of numerous presidential agendas. Graziano started. Where you at? Over here? Where's she at? Over here. Come on forward. So Graziano started in 1912. It was started by Italian immigrant brothers Frank and Louis Graziano. They purchased a corner grocery store located at 1601 South Union Street, still family owned, operated by 3rd generation at the same location, longest running Italian American business in Des Moines. And we wanted to recognize them publicly here from the Des Moines Historical Society. We brought a bunch of photos of history over the years, and we're going to have those on display.
We're still in the same building, too.
You bet.
To this day.
That's right.
The building is still in very good shape, too.
Yes, thank you. We tried.
I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you say wherever you'd like to say.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much for this honor. I brought with me, my name is Frances Graziano. I'm the president and active member of Graziano Brothers. And I brought my sister, Sophie Richards, and Teresa Graziano. We are all family members of the 3rd generation that are part owners of the corporation. We started out, as David said, with, and you can all hear me, I'm sure. I've got a good Italian voice, don't I? Okay. We started out, our grandfathers came at a very young age. They were both in their teens. There's a little height difference between the 2 of us. Okay. They immigrated in the early 1900s, like so many Italian immigrants did. And how many of you have ever heard of the South Side Bottoms? Do you remember hearing about the South Side Bottoms? That's where all of the Italian immigrants ended up, not only because that's the only place they could afford, but it also reminded them of the homeland that they came from. It was hilly. Just like the mountains that they had come from, and it was just pristine place for them. They didn't care. They were just happy to have the opportunity of coming to America and having a job and having a new, fresh start in life. Like our grandfather's mom, my grandfather was Frank Graziano, and Sophie's was Frank, and then Teresa's was Louis Graziano, the 2 brothers. So they started off in the railroad industry, and like so many Italians did, they either were in the coal mines or in the railroad industry, and that was very hard work for them. So they decided they need to do something else. And Teresa's grandfather went off, and there was an opportunity to purchase a grocery store, a small grocery store. There were all one on every corner of the blocks, right? There were so many of them. And we were one of them. We took one over, and thus the start of Graziano Brothers. Just a small section of what our current building is today. That's at 1601 South Union, by the way. We're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from there. And it was just one of 3 columns. If we could think of our building as sectioned off in 3, we were just 1/3 of the building we are today. And we've expanded and then some from there. Okay, so the store in the early 1920s looked like that. Does this look familiar to anyone who's been to ours? How many of you have been to our store? Okay, good, good. I like to hear that. Now, how many haven't been to our store but have had our product? Graziano sausage. Okay, there better be more hands up on that one. All right. Okay, so so what we started off was just a corner grocery store here in the 1920s. Now, if you happen to see what the store looks like today, it kind of looks like that again. Okay, and I'll tell you little details about that. We started off, they started making the sausage based on what they remember at home. They came up with 2 ingredients. One was the garlic sausage and one was what we call now today the medium hot sausage. We now make over 3,000 pounds a day, 5 days a week of that sausage, and is distributed to throughout the state of Iowa. As so many stores die out because of economy, what's going on, growing, the return of all of the GIs in the 1930s, or 1940s, excuse me, Frank and Louie had a dilemma on what to do with all of the sons that were coming home and now needed jobs. So what they decided to do is that they branched out into wholesale business. They started going out to all of the grocery stores, all to the restaurants. We were the first ones to bring pasta on a retail or a wholesale basis and cheeses so that individuals can come out and purchase those before we heard of the bigger brand wholesale distributors that we hear today. That was our saving grace, because at that time soon after that was the era of supermarkets. And so all of the mom and pop shops started dying out, but we had the foot in our door with our sausage and then the wholesale distribution. Today, our wholesale distribution makes up 75% of our business. So it was definitely a saving grace. Let's see, where do I want to go from there? Okay, so we celebrated our 100th in 2012. So we're trying to figure out what we could do with our building. We decided that we were going to try to get a grant to get it to recreate the old look and preserve that old look. And so we did apply for a grant for at the at the registry to see if we can rebuild it. The way to rebuild it would have been too costly, and it would not have been appropriate for our business as far as security is concerned. So I came up with the idea of, well, instead of recreating this look, let's do a mural and have it and recreate some of those signs and recreate the look of what it used to look like. So if any of you have seen it today, it looks like this. So when we took down all the plaster, you know how we always, technology and modernizing everything, you just take over the old stuff. And then now, after several years, you want to go back and say, let's get some of that old stuff back again. So the plaster that covered all of this, when we chipped away at the plaster, we saw those signs again. It was a wonderful, wonderful discovery. It was so much fun. And what it did is it brought back so many memories for so many Des Moines residents. Wow, I remember that when I was a kid. My mom or my grandmother made me go down there and get groceries and sign the groceries so we could pay it later on. I remember when I tried to steal an apple and your Uncle Mose came running after me, and I said, please don't tell my mother, please don't tell my, all these stories kept coming up. It was just a wonderful experience, and I try to write them down as I get them. We do see ourselves as we have a great responsibility because we are still a living business on the South Side. So we do represent the Italian American community that still exists, and so we take that very seriously. Therefore we are trying to help contribute some of the programs that the Italian Americans want to promote as far as our heritage is concerned. So we do take a part of that. let me go back into restructuring. Because we have to update, everything gets old and rickety, we have to update. So the interior we are updating, and we decided, okay, let's, the challenge I gave the architect was, okay, we have to redo everything, but don't change anything, okay? All right, so go, all right. And so that was the challenge, and what we decided to do is we reincorporated, we took out the drop ceiling, and we exposed in one section the raised ceiling, the tin ceiling, and it's in pristine condition. So we have that. We're eventually going to get into the other bays, but that'll come later on, once you guys buy a little bit more sausage, okay? Okay, so then what we also did, what we've also have planned, we have several of these light fixtures, the coverings of the light posts. We're reincorporating some of the pendulums in our deli area. We're bringing back some of the wood features. Some of the architectural designs, we are reincorporating that slanted bookshelf or shelving units. We're building some, and we're getting them to replicate what the old original styles were. We have a big challenge because a lot of people, when they're seeing this, our reconstruction, they're like, what are you doing? You're not modernizing this. What are you doing? This is all what I remember it to be. You can't be changing anything. Don't change a thing. We like it the way it is. So it's been a fun challenge to let them know, okay, but we're going to bring it back to what it used to be like. What am I leaving out?
I think you've done a really good job.
It's been fun. Well, when my father, I don't know about Teresa's father, both of our fathers worked as second generation. My father didn't want us to come to the store because he knew how much work he had, he had to do. And so he wanted his children to have a better life, so we all received our college education, college degrees, moved on. When it came time to knowing that our cousin was about ready to retire, started thinking about it, it's like, wait. Who's going to take over? What's going to happen to the business? And so I decided to come back because I do think that heritage and that responsibility of family and the success, the legacy, and the hard work that our grandparents and fathers had done need to be continued on. And so we decided, and thank goodness, 20 years later, we've been still running. And we hope to continue. So we are at 104, and we hope to go to what, 200, 204 at least. We'll go use that as a goal. Okay. Again, thank you very much.
I wanted to present the Centennial Certificate that I was telling you about. That is another creation from Larry. He put this together for us, so I wanted to give this to you guys.
Beautiful. Thank you. I know where to put it now. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate you working hard. And is there another younger generation that you've suckered into coming in?
To be determined. Let's just put it that way.
That's always the hard part. So.
Yeah, if I'm in family businesses, that's what's very difficult, is knowing how to take it on to the next generation.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing your pictures.
Thank you.
So,
Let's keep them up until later.
Perfect.
Okay.
This is an excellent presentation.
Archie, you want to get up and talk a little bit about the building, and let me grab Don to come back and talk about the business. So, this is Archie Cook, by the way, another historian extraordinaire.
Oh, yeah. Hi, guys. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad, but I'm not on prime voice. I don't have need a microphone usually either. As a former school teacher, I can not be shut up usually. So, but today, probably not so much. I wasn't sure I was going to be here today. I had done some initial research on this building. I've met some of you in the room before. I'm the tour guide and historian of Woodland Cemetery, and I want to put in a little plug. We're going to start putting on the Des Moines Park and Rec page probably in March. I'll get a schedule of free public tours, usually Saturday or evenings, that I would hope to meet all of you there and take a tour and learn the history of it takes about 2 hours. So anyway, I've done, because of people buried at Woodland, which includes basically the whole early part of our history of this town, I've done some initial research on a lot of the buildings and residents and different things like that, and I've done very little on this building, but it sparked me when I thought I might be here. I was just going to give the owner, you know, some information. So just a little bit, I want to get to this building, but I want you to see from the Des Moines Register, I found something that said that this building was built by an organization called the Grocers Wholesale Cooperative, and they actually were founded on March the 19th, 1912, and the only thing I want to tell you, they weren't initially in this building in 1912, but I wanted to read to you from the Des Moines Register the reason that this building was built a few years later, this company was founded. It says here from the Register, the purpose of founding this company is to simplify the process of distributing foodstuffs from the producers to the consumer. If successful, it will take the business of the retail grocer out of the hands of the association jobbers and midmen and put the retail grocers into the direct communication with the factories producing their goods. So this building only came into existence a few years later because these people wanted to cut out the middleman. And so they were originally located, when they founded in 1912, they were originally located at 1317 to 1319 Locust Street. And their head buyer, or their head person, had an office in the Equitable Life Insurance Company building. And you can find all that in like the city directories and in the Des Moines Register and everything, which are good sources, particularly for buildings and addresses. So by 1912, they had grown so large, or by 1916, they'd grown so large that they decided that they would actually need a bigger space. So I actually was going to give this to the owner, but I'm going to send it to him electronically because I found a picture. Our board member that's an architect, it actually says the architectural firm, but I can't read it without it being online in this picture. But anyway, this is an architectural view of this building in 1916 when they decided to build it. But guess what? It's obsolete. Even in the article, if you blow this up, if you look at it electronically online at the Des Moines Register, you actually will find out that even by the time they wrote this article and they submitted the architectural picture, this is only a 3-story building with the basement, only 3 stories above ground. This building's 4 stories above ground. And they actually mentioned that by the time they finished the building, they had already went back to the architect and they had to add a 4th story because they already run out of space before they even occupied the building. Okay, so anyway, and then also in the Des Moines Register from later in the year, there's a bunch of downtown buildings in various phases of construction, and this upper one, I'll pass this around, but it's not very good. It's better online if you look at it, is actually this building almost complete. Okay, so, and I thought I would share that with the owner, but I'm going to send him the electronic links to it. But anyway, they were in this building and from 1916 until, guess what, 1930, it's too small. Wow. Okay? And so they actually abandoned this building in 1930 and actually built a building a few blocks from here at 334 Southwest 8th, which is basically at 8th and Tuttle. And it is now owned by, I think unless they painted it since I've been by recently, it's a gray building and its office building's owned by Wells Fargo. And that was the newer version of the grocery warehouse. So this building was built in 1916. Although if you go to the Polk County Assessor's site, it says it was built in 1906. We've had arguments between me and the assessors, and they said, well, your proof sounds more substantial than our proof, so we'll say it was built in 1916. Okay, so anyway, thank you.
I want to introduce Don Short real quick. He is the one that started West End Salvage how many years ago?
Gosh, it was in 2005.
Okay, and your location is now?
Microsoft and Americana were the 2 buildings that we purchased.
Okay. And I had a quiz earlier about how many locations, permanent or permanent, have you been in?
Well, we were there, we were here, we had a small store in the East Village, we've done a store in Albert Lee, Kansas City, West Glen, and now LeClaire. And so sometimes you have to go to your customers as far as, they're not going to drive here. And what I will say is, everybody might not know, you put a sign, I can talk without a mic. When I get a mic, then I start to act. That's funny if you guys know we have a TV show. For those of you who don't, I'm not that funny. So anyway, we have the big store in West Glen. We have our name on 2 big towers that you can see. That's cheaper rent than an advertisement in the newspaper. And then people talk about it. And then they come in and buy stuff. Do you want me to move? This is actually my better side, Dave. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, my name's Don Short. This is West End Salvage. We started 12 years ago with a garage sale, a 2-weekend tag sale in the newspaper. And we now are where we are because of most of the people in this room. You know, think all the stuff that you guys have purchased from us that allow us to stay in business. And I think that's a real testament to Des Moines, this area. When I first opened up, I had people say, it's not going to work in Des Moines. You need to be in a bigger city. Hell no. Des Moines has been hugely responsible for our success in bringing us things, telling us if buildings are coming down, being very aware of, well, basically, I'm preaching to the choir right here because you guys get that. But I think there's a bigger group of people that get it as well. And so my thing, like Dave said, we started with a 2-weekend garage sale, and I've had a number of interesting things that have brought us to this point. The first one being I was only open on weekends, and my family had restaurants in Marshalltown. I was driving back and forth, and I had a call from a New York City number, and the guy said, I saw your salvage sign. I'm with Old Good Things out of New York City, and we buy salvage. I said, well, I'll be down there in half an hour. So Chuck from Old Good Things has been here 57 times from New York City. So all of these big mirrors, that big copper facade over here, off a building in New York City. The big mirror back there. So we buy from him typically, I don't know, Joe, once a month? Maybe not quite that often. Yeah, and so it's opened up a line of getting materials here that we wouldn't normally have, and then getting our materials that we have too much of to go back that direction. So Chuck's influence when they started demo in the Yonkers building, we bought 5,000 square foot of the tin ceiling off the 3rd floor. I sold 3,500 of it to Chuck. When the building burned, I called him and bought it all back. And then we've been selling those little pieces of the Yonkers tea room because we have a good enough relationship with him that he'd let us do that. Back in the very beginning, after Chuck started, we'd been there about a year. The sculpture park came to fruition. We have this great sculpture park in the middle of downtown. Steve King, the guy who runs the Des Moines Art Festival, who's an awesome guy, he walked in. I didn't know Steve. He didn't know me. And he said, well, we've got some people on the board that would like you to be shut during the art festival because you're not part of the art. And it's like, well, God, I've only been open about 8 months. I said, where do you guys set up? He said, I don't have anywhere to set up. I said, why don't you set up in our front? He's like, done. So we had the Des Moines Art Festival. Girls, nice to see you. There's my family. They're going, they don't like old crap. Except they like me. And so Steve said, we'd love to have our headquarters in your building. So we had the Des Moines Art Festival's headquarters in the front of our store and had easily 120,000 people that weekend come through our building. And then he came back the week after and said the same gal who didn't want us to be open complained because she had to stand in line and use our restroom. It's like, come on. But that could have turned things very ugly and gone a different direction. And so then soon after that, Chris Hensley, who I admire and is a good friend of mine, the city council wanted us to tear those 2 buildings down. And I said, well, they're for sale if you want to buy them. And there was some discussion. We know what you paid for them. We're not going to pay you what you want for them. And I said, well, then somebody else will buy them. But I'm not tearing the damn things down. You have this beautiful sculpture park, and then you have parking lots around it. That's a cemetery. You need to have buildings that have life, that have people wanting to come down. And now we have Americana, we have Microsoft, we have that whole strip of really fun things that accent our park. You know, I can kind of take credit for the renovation of Des Moines, but I won't, you know. No, but that turned out to be a really good thing because we sold them to Jack Hatch and Bruce Rassiter, and then that allowed us to come to this building. And personally, this is a much better fit for us than either of those two with what we have going. And so that worked out well. This is working out okay. You know, just okay. Just okay. We, last year, so I don't know how many of you know, we do events here. So last year we had 49 wedding receptions. I know, can you believe people are still getting married? That'll sink in. And then this December we did 22 Christmas parties. We just hosted our 8th year of Indulge, which is wine, cheese, and chocolate last weekend. We had 680 on Friday night and 750 on Saturday night. We opened the whole building up, have tasting stations throughout. It's just a great time. And what I see there, it's 21-year-olds up to my age and older. So the diversity of the people who are interested in this type of thing, I think, is getting better. I don't know that we still have as many people. This is my good side. I don't know if we have as many people doing collecting as they used to be, but they appreciate the quality, the sustainability, if you will, of using something that's already been done. And then the other side of that is the American Pickers and the TV shows and the magazines are getting people more interested in this, which leads to another good thing that we had going. Was that 7 years ago, Joe, that we were approached by Python Productions out of LA to do a TV show about what we do? And we're just like, yeah, whatever. And then they fly in a crew and we spend 4.5 days filming 9 minutes of TV. It's like, that we're not going to do it. We had a big discussion. HGTV offered us 13 episodes. Everybody said, you probably should take it. And I will say, if anybody offers you a TV show, you probably should take it, you know? Because a national advertising campaign is not the worst thing in the world. And we still have people that come in that love our show, that want to have pictures with us, want to have our autograph. And I just look at them, what the hell are you going to do with my autograph? It's like, if it's on a check, it's cool, but otherwise, you know. But TV is powerful, you know, as we all know. American Pickers have ramped it up, and Chip and Joanna, and it influences people. I don't know. We had 2 full seasons. I don't think we'll get a 3rd season. We haven't talked to anybody much about it. But that really opened up, I think, a local market as well as a national. And I think it's all good because it makes people think about throwing stuff away. We've already had 2 people drop stuff off this morning that would have gone to a landfill 5 years ago. And it's not your whole big roof and everything, but it's like the earrings on a sow. It's stuff that's pretty. Someone said that on TV. Yeah. And then that's been huge for us. And then last year, when we had the Iowa caucuses, NBC called me in November, and then we were on Christmas vacation, and they called again, and they said, we would like your place for the Today Show. It's like, wow, that's going to be cool. I'm going to sit right between Natalie and Savannah. And that didn't happen. And then they called back and said, after viewing some of the footage, Meet the Press and the Nightly News also want to use your space. So we had NBC in here for 8 full days, probably easily 100 people at a time, and we were able to watch the process of how we pick the leader of the free world. And it's driven by the media. We were standing in here with Peter Alexander in the morning. He was doing a news tease. Coming up, we're going to be, and then he said, you know who we're bringing in? I said, no, I don't know. Sarah Palin. I was like, come on, what's the relevancy of someone not running? He said, relevancy, hell, it's for ratings. And so a year later, what do we got going on? TV. So anyway, we've been able to see some really cool stuff. We had Tom Brokaw was in here 7 days a row. My folks got to talk to him. We all got pictures with them. We got to know all the crew because the talent was never really here. It was all the crew. And they're just guys like us doing their job, but they're getting to see things that most of us never see. We have a picture of 7 or 6 candidates standing here waiting to go on, and they're all adjusting their tie and thinking about what they're going to say. And I'm just thinking, you know what? I'm wearing a hat and a T-shirt, and I'm glad I'm not you, you know? And so anyway, that's kind of I can talk for hours, as some of you probably know. We have become very aware of, we're more of a decoration store than a total just salvage reclamation. We're fortunate in this area, there's not a lot of homes coming down, so we're not getting a lot of good salvage pieces, which I'm fine with. You know, think about like Sherman Hill, and think about the few homes that have come down that shouldn't have in the last 5 years.
It's nothing like it was when the interstates went through and that type of thing. And so I think we're much more cognizant of that. There are still some times where it's like, really, you knocked that over without calling us? But it's not very often. So we're coming up with different ways to reuse things that have been reused. This table, for instance, underneath it, that table base came out of the Savory Hotel, and it held their little statue in their lobby. And so we're helping them redo the lobby, redoing the restaurant in their renovation. But rather than throw that table base away, I tipped it upside down and we put it on a different top. It's been sitting here for 4 months. I don't know if it's a great idea or not. It's obviously, yeah, it works really well there. And then, you know, like welding the gears up, and it is right now. This could be a presidential election. And so like welding up a gear off a, I think that's probably off a silage wagon maybe, I don't know. But it becomes art, you know, because you're not probably ever going to put that piece back into its original intent. These photos behind, those came out of the attic of the Savory. And there were 4 shots. I think, Bill, you know, they're 70s and 80s. They're not as old as I thought they were.
Yeah, they're 70s and 80s.
80s, yep.
There's one of them from like 1974.
Okay.
And then there's another one from like early to mid 80s.
Yeah. And so they were going to throw these prints away. And I was like, God, you can't throw them away. So I got the prints and we made copies of them. And that's kind of iconic, even though it's not that old. But at some point, it's going to be a 100-year-old picture. And you got to start saving it before it's thrown away, if that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So anyway, I could talk. I know you guys have a lot more to do, but.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So what are some of the more interesting or more strange things that you've received?
I always say the coolest thing is the next one you get. But, you know, to your point, I mean, we've had caskets with glass, you know, a child's casket with a glass viewing cover in it.
I've seen a few of those.
Yeah, and we're just like, nobody's going to buy that. But it's too cool not to buy. And then somebody buys it, you know. And I always say there's a butt for every seat. You just, you know, somebody likes something. And I don't know, gosh, these big copper cheese vats, we have 5 of those now, and they came out of Wisconsin originally, and we got them from a guy about an hour west of here. He wrapped them in wood and was using them for stock tanks to water his cattle. I think they're just incredible. What the hell do you do with them? You know? They could be a fountain. We'll bring it over. It'd be a great fountain, too. You could have bubbles coming, but, you know, it's coming up with that interesting kind of thing. Another one, the sled above Joe and Linda over there, the prototype that they manufactured was called the Bone Crusher. So, you know, any of the moms today going to put their kids on that and push them down a hill? No. And so things like that are really interesting. We've got a bunch of the big doors over here that are coming out of Indonesia, and they're just a fun piece, too. So anyway, who's up next? Because I probably should go to work. Yes? We probably do up on the 3rd floor in the tin area. We've got it framed up. We might have a little bit left in the basement.
Greatly appreciate a donation.
Okay. We can do that. We probably have some, don't we? Yeah, okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Use my allotted 45 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for supporting West End. It's cool as hell.